log for Jay, like a log joke. I appreciate that a lot. In the Rise and Banter Bridge.
A log for a Jay joke.
Now we're live, by the way, everybody.
Now we're live.
Now we're live.
I'm coming
Woohoo.
straight in from vacation.
Ah,
I don't know what news stories we have? So, like Florida man, you got it today. I didn't like that laugh. That scares me.
I'm all high on that.
yeah.
Mommy, what's a bath salt?
If you don't know, you can't move here.
And words of
Okay.
wisdom from Florida, man.
There's a couple good ones. There's nothing like super breaking.
Yeah, I mean, there was no move it breaches again.
No, there are. Yeah, right. Gosh.
For now. For now.
No, there's no. It's nothing but move it breaches. That's why. Like,
Yeah, they're move over.
God.
The
The BBC article is pretty good. The why is it so rare to hear about Western cyber attacks? I feel like it was kind of what's it called when you're like getting people? It's kind of clickbait.
Oh, yeah.
As for
Yeah.
cybersecurity
Even
spectrum.
when I
think we all
saw
do
that title, I was like,
Really?
"Ooh, I know what you're trying to do to me. I know. You want me to find out? I already know, though. I don't need to click the link. I already got
And then
it."
the flyer comes up,
Yes.
like the ad comes up.
So I haven't read the
Hey,
article,
you
but
know
here's
why.
my guess. Maybe they said this, that the reason that the Western breaches aren't as like most reported is possibly cyber insurance, so that if they don't have to report it, I guess. I don't know. That's
They actually did not mention that at all. There's
Yeah.
a couple good mention. There are a couple key points they didn't mention with it
Uh-huh.
that I would say that are important, but
But
it's they hit most of them, right? Like
Hey.
it's not in your threat model. Like,
How about we start it and then we talk about this?
oh, okay.
No, let's start. Let's just talk
Oh,
about
look
it.
at that. That is a great, amazing idea.
Thank you, BSD Bandit. Somebody who has Sandy.
Let's-
So roll that beautiful broken finger footage.
All right, who's taking the helm? Is it
Oh,
you,
man.
Ralph?
I'll start off and then I'm handing it over to Florida man.
All right, here we go.
Florida, man.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Black Hills Information Security Talkin Bout News, which is brought to you by Black Hills Information Security. As I like to say, do you need to get hacked? Do you need to prevent a hack? Do you need someone to respond to a hack? Black Hills Information Security is here for all of your hacking needs. It is also brought to you by Anti-Siphon Security Training. Would you like to have like the top shelf, tippy top shelf security training, but at like less than 1/10 of the cost? Check out anti-siphonsecuritytraining.com. Now, I've been out on vacation, so I have no idea what's been happening at all in the world of computer security. As near as I can tell, the news and everything, there's like, oh my God, there's a failed revolution in Russia. I have things
Yes.
to whip on. And because of that, I'm going to hand over the helm to Florida Man, who's going to take us through the news. But we are joined by Ryan, the shootist, who makes us look good, smell good, and feel good. Joined by BSD Bandit. Dude, it's been too long. Missed you.
I know. I missed y'all too.
Thing today, man. I love the Commodore 64 thing. I get brought back.
Thank you.
Who is easily the best singer out of all of us is Mike, who is doing fantastic in his workouts. I've been tracking that on Twitter, sir, so keep it up. Also,
Thank
Wade. There's no mustache, Wade.
Wow.
But
Talk about the
Okay.
callback. Wait,
because
that's
we have Penn, who's in one of my favorite shirts, the packets. Gotta capture them all. Florida Man, and of course, Corvus is here as well. So with that, Florida Man, are you ready to take it away?
Sure, yeah. I've been
Go ahead.
practicing all week. So
The
We-
start of the week.
I
Oh.
know. I've been practicing all week, last week for this week. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
You gotta get 5 minutes early to get 5 minutes early for the 15-minute, you know.
I hear that. For sure.
So
Better
we
than
got-
practicing next week for this week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, true.
We got a couple good stories. We're going to talk about the Verizon data breach investigation report. If you haven't got, we kind of talked about a little bit of that 2 weeks ago. Move It's still a thing, and I guess federal agencies, multiple agencies, were all part of it. We can talk about that for a minute. And how much is going on with that. We have a bunch of more data breaches. We'll talk about data brokers and other things, and anything else that you guys want to talk about. So what do you guys want to talk about first?
We thought you were going to pick one.
Oh, I got you.
Like to pick one. Can we start with U.S. intelligence confirms it buys America's personal data?
Oh, yes. There you go.
Ooh.
How is this still news? Like,
I-
how
I-
often can you
that's-
publish the government is buying your data? Like, how frequently can you publish that before it is recognized as not being news?
I see what I don't understand. Like the first question is like, how is it still news? But then how is it people are still surprised by this? It's just like the sun comes up. People are like, oh,
well,
oh.
we were talking about this before the newscast started. And the idea is that the data brokers actually have more access to U.S. data than the intelligence agencies. So why compete with them? Just buy it from them, right? That's what all they want anyways. And then they take all of this metadata and they can paint the picture that they're trying to figure out what about. I mean, the data brokers are the intelligence agencies, national security agency, their information, right? That's where I get my information from.
And Ralph, you've actually worked a gig. We won't go into too much data. Whenever we were doing stuff and we paid like $5 per person to get background information, and DoD people were like, holy crap, you can get all of that for $5? You're like, yes, you can.
Yes.
Absolutely get this for $5. And if you splurge on it right now, we're also going to throw in a set of steak knives as well. You're like, well, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that I'm spending literally billions of dollars on collection and I could get it for $5?
Yeah.
That's right, Jared Fogle, who's not in prison. $5. So not just criminal background checks, not just all the financial records of that person, not just who their mother's maiden name is and what street they grew up on, but also their license plate information and where their cars have been in major cities for $5.
Yes.
And the government's like, dude, we're doing it wrong.
So the other thing the government does, right, and this isn't necessarily on purpose, but they have a really hard time information sharing. And a lot of times they're like, well, we have some special data that we're only ones who have, right? And they bought it actually from someone else, and that other government agency also buys it from that other person too. They're like, we've got special data that you don't have. We're like, well, we can't talk about the special data that we have, but they're really just buying it from the same person over here.
I know.
God, this is a TikTok video in waiting.
I'm telling you, dude, this happens all the time, and because of the sensitivity of it, they're like, well, I just, and they're, got their own pool, so it's funny.
I want there to be like a report where they talk about like how they actually caught someone using this data, like detailed reports. Like, we actually went and bought this data on here, found this, and then correlated all that. I know they never will.
No,
but
they will never do that. It's the Silk Road argument. The Silk Road argument.
So how that goes, it's just like Ralph said. They'll go and they'll buy that data, right? So just giving you a heads up. So they'll buy it for like the CIA. Right. So they'll buy it, and then the NSA will buy it, and then the NRO will buy it, and DHS will buy it. Right. And then it'll get automatically aggregated and it'll get classified. TS, SCI, TK. TK, it should never be TK, but they'll totally do it TK, talent keyhole anyway. And then they'll be like, no foreign. And then ultimately what it boils down to is you'll be like, this is some really incredibly, I mean, it's like the markings for classifications, like as long as your arm. And you're like, wait a minute. Did you buy this from Have I Been Pwned?
Yes.
They all bought it from Have I Been Pwned. But none of them will ever say that because it betrays, and I'm not lying about this, Ralph can back me up, sources and methods.
Yes, exactly. And then if we're lucky, we'll find it in a bathroom in a very fancy hotel.
And then somebody might admit later, it was the sale of the century. I couldn't pass it up.
Yes.
Couldn't pass it up. I got the knives.
I got the knives.
Yes.
But anyways, back to our
DOD
article.
style.
It should be no surprise that the government is buying this information. What the wildest part is that we all volunteer this information or sign it away in some little, agreement that we either don't read, don't care to read, or are extremely happy to get our free maps.
Well,
so
but this TechCrunch
No,
article. Go
there's
ahead.
so many things that you sign up for that, like, if you want to sign up for that thing, maybe it's an app for your gym or even like something for your university's health program, where to like exist, you are required to use that app, which is not necessarily consenting to giving away all of that information.
Well, and I hate
because
this
you
article.
essentially have no other option in many cases.
So I want to get your opinion on this because the byline is newly declassified report says the controversial practice raises quote unquote significant issue for American civil liberties. Why? What world? Yeah, I know I know that there's a dog there that's blending into the fractal. Freaking me out.
There is no dog back there.
There was.
There was.
A dog.
There
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have a dog.
Yeah.
You gotta love our audience.
Crazy.
They are OSINT trained.
Yep. The wildest part about this is the fact that it's newly declassified information. That information they bought was all unclassified that they had to classify after they bought it.
Right?
Well, and here's the final question that I've got on this. If it's been classified, does that mean if somebody else buys it, say Black Hills buys it or something like that, are they buying classified or unclassified information at that point in time?
Dude, okay.
Bad example.
I want to give you, whenever I got my clearance, right? They went through and they said, so for the record, just so you know, the fact that there's these things over here in this field is highly classified. You may have read in the newspapers exactly what that is because a senator said exactly what those things are out in that field and who they're working for.
Yeah.
That's unclassified. But if it's in your possession and there's like a raid on your house, they'll consider it classified information in your home. I'm not making that up, Mike. Like it is absolutely crazy pills with it. But yes, if like I were to get it and I have a clearance with intelligence communities, they absolutely could possibly get me into trouble.
So the other thing too is they'll take these data sources, they'll aggregate them together to actually start drawing like more, kind of a picture about this data, right? And that is what they'll actually start to classify more than just the single source, right? So
you mean the Maltego map that they built?
Yes, exactly. Whatever the Maltego map is, whatever software they're using, which they spent oodles of money and incredible amounts of GPUs to process.
And what's the super expensive classified version of Maltego? Does anyone know what the name of it is?
PowerPoint?
No. Oh,
God. You nailed it. I don't understand why.
Yeah, Palantir. Palantir is their really expensive thing. And I remember when I first got access to it, I'm like, this thing is like billions of dollars and this is it? Like, that's it, really?
That's
one menu.
This is all you guys had? Wow. All right. Now we know why government contractors are so rich.
Yeah.
There's one more issue with this whole thing. Like, so if four three-letter agencies,
only one.
If 4 three-letter agencies need to buy this data, that's not $5, that's $20. Not to mention thousands of dollars from each of them in overhead costs to do the actual process of getting these purchases approved.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Taxpayers are paying for that.
But Penn, they'll knock it off just a little bit for $19.95. That's always the go-to price
right now if you buy, not just the knives.
Yeah.
Right now, there's some like sales executive at Lockheed Martin and Leidos and whatnot going, shut
up, guys!
I got a Ferrari to buy.
Yeah,
I had that happen.
You're cutting into my commission.
What was that tool? Do you remember OSTEM? I don't know if you guys remember, like the open source. It was like it brought together Nessa scans and vulnerability scan data, tie it in with intrusion detection alerts. I don't know if you remember that tool.
What was the name of the tool? What?
I think it was OSTEM. I can't remember.
Oh, I do. It's OSSAM. OSTEM.
Yeah, but it had the logo.
Or something. Yeah,
of an elephant. We were talking about proof of concept with a bunch of generals in Denver, actually out in Aurora, and how we would do security. And my thing was we need to tie together vulnerability data with IDS alerts and all of these different things. And I just reskinned it because it was open source and I burned it on a CD. And yes, I had permission to do so. I was in ISO working on an RFP. But we made a live CD that basically had that entire thing, and we demonstrated the attack. We demonstrated saying, hey, there's actually a vulnerability on this system, correlating and fusing that together. And by the way, I had to do this because Cisco wouldn't send me Mars boxes. This is back when they had something called Cisco Mars, and they wouldn't do it. Yeah. And I demonstrated the entire thing beginning to end, where I launched an attack. We saw it was critical, got an alert of a 10 and all these different things. And that's what we wanted to do. And a bunch of like the general type people were like, oh my God, that is fantastic. How much is that going to cost? And I'm like, oh, here's a copy of the DVD. You can just spin it up and it just runs just like that. I damn near got fired from Northrop Grumman. Because I replaced their logo with the elephant and everything.
Yeah.
With the Grumman logo and all of this stuff. So
oh my God.
And boy, they were so pissed. They're like, we could have made so much money. I'm like, that's all open source. Like, I don't know.
John, you took me back with the live CD. That I just had a retro moment that warmed
Isn't
my
that?
heart.
Those were great times. I mean, they were awesome.
Unhackable.
You know what I thought about when you said that? Knoppix.
Oh, Knoppix STD. Yeah, the security testing distribution with the cat.
Yeah.
That was one of the first testing distributions. So that was
John,
great.
With all your fingers and toes, could you count the number of times you were almost fired at Northrop Grumman?
3.
So one hand. Okay, one hand.
Yeah, there was that time. Whenever I got my poly went really, really sideways because they got all caught up in questions about malware and hacking government systems. And this is before security was a really well-established thing. And I had to sit and explain to my polygrapher, like, no, they're paying me to hack these computer systems. And who gave the authorized? It was bad. It was really, really, really bad. Eventually, it all got taken care of. And the first time I brought in all of my tools into a SCIF, and I had them all in a CD, had them all analyzed by the ISO, who now works for us at Black Hills Information Security. And as soon as I loaded these hacking tools on a government computer system, let's just say that some alarms went off all the way up to DC, and it made for some very interesting conversations. But I was doing security pen testing stuff way at the beginning of the cycle, and no one knew what the hell I was doing or why I was doing it. So I had to explain myself.
An innovator.
I was an innovator.
That's right.
And we talk about one thing, though, about how if you ask someone just contextually to say, what is a polygrapher, that you would not contextually get what it actually is. Like, that sounds way dirtier.
Right off the bat, yeah, they wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
I'm asking
Like,
ChatGPT right now. Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. ChatGPT. What is a polygrapher?
Don't Google image searching.
Hey, you should see the looks I get when I talk about forensicators.
Did you?
Polygraphers often live in Utah.
That's exactly what I was
Very different.
I knew I had to go there because I didn't get the reaction that I was.
You just had to one-upper here.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear about ChatGPT, though? All of the credentials that have been stolen and are being sold on the dark web? Yes. Yes. So, all right. So think about it this way, okay? I've been using ChatGPT a bit to write some code or just help other stuff. And, you get a login and account, right? That's great. And ChatGPT happens to store all of the chat history, right, that you interact with, right? So everything you've asked it, you can go back and it can reuse that contextually. So it looks like there have been some leaks on dark web forums with lots of credentials being exposed, right, from ChatGPT. So what these malware or what these scammers are doing, or whoever's getting a hold of it, logging into these accounts and then, reading everything that they've asked ChatGPT. So this is where it gets interesting. If you input any kind of sensitive information, like log data that might have credentials, API keys, other stuff like that, you can see where this could all go. So
if I forget my
the first thing I thought about?
Can I just ask ChatGPT what it is?
What is?
My LinkedIn password when I forget it.
Yes. It'll probably be able to tell you if you talk about it.
That's terrifying if it spits it right back out to you.
All right.
So when you mentioned that,
real quick.
When you mentioned that, right, the first thing I thought about was that lawyer that got fired for having the ChatGPT do its report.
Oh, yeah. And then he had to do like a 3-hour deposition or something obnoxious like that.
Yeah. So imagine if somebody scoops up his creds.
Yeah. That's how actually I find out if my passwords are good or bad. I ask ChatGPT on all of my passwords, and it tells me whether they're good or bad.
Smart. My wife, like,
Man.
we're like laying in bed, getting ready to go to bed, and we're flipping through like doom scrolling, and she shows me this meme, and she shows me the meme, and it says, "I'm a hacker, and I've got all your passwords," and then below it says, "Oh, thank God, what are they?"
You could really help me out. So in the ChatGPT example, if you are using it or any other kind of AI, avoid inputting sensitive information inside of there, and just assume that all conversations can be read by someone either at the company or possibly in the future.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the government is doing the data scraping from next.
Yes.
Yes.
They solved security.
Oh, yeah.
Tell everyone that everything's available and it's done. We're all out of the job.
No more secrets.
Too
it's
many
easier that way.
That's right. No more secrets. See-Tac astronomy.
secrets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Speaking, did you guys also see that Biden is meeting AI experts to talk about regulation and safety in the industry?
I watched like the Senate and the House hearings on IT related things over the past 28 years, and we're doomed.
We're doomed.
There's no way that the government is ever going to get this right.
It just upsets me they can't just like do a Google search and just like literally read the little block outline. Like, that's all you need like 90% of the time. And
sir, that's against policy.
A Google search. They have, people who work for them that actually do the heavy lifting, that actually gather the information and then have to process it so that it can be digested by the Congress critters who probably don't have their own teeth anymore.
And that's a good point. There are still members of Congress and the Senate that their staffers print out emails for them. They don't actually log into a computer at all. They just
I hate to say this is why we need like an age limit on policies,
or at least a term limit.
If you think about it, though, they're just solving the phishing problem unless you can fish people through paper.
Okay, we're done here.
This man says he has my password. Someone get him on the phone.
What are you doing? I'm filling out my user ID and password with a pen.
Yes, that internet is going to be the destruction of us all. That internet.
Outside of politicians being old and probably have no idea what AI is or how to regulate it in any way, shape, or form that would be healthy for society. What do you guys think about how AI may affect us in our security space? Right.
I go back to this. Like, I've used AI. I've used ChatGPT a lot for coding. Used it a lot for a bunch of other stuff, and I use it just like Google. I don't trust anything it says until I can verify it in 3 other ways. Like, I am not going to trust ChatGPT says, okay, do this and this and that until I go and find like an actual expert I know also saying and goes along with it. It's at that same lines. It's just another tool to Google, but I do think it's going to help a lot out with those junior people coming up. Like, I throw all my mentees at ChatGPT and say, before you ask me a question, ask ChatGPT, see what it says, then ask me the question, and we'll go over what ChatGPT says. And
so pretty much ChatGPT is the new Google?
It's the new
Google. I'm just saying.
Much.
Yeah.
Well, okay, it is and it isn't. One of the things about ChatGPT is that it's a large language model. It doesn't deal with facts. It deals with words. And it got fed billions of words. And it has no idea what is fact and what is just word salad that seems to match the question that is being asked.
So it can now.
And this is exactly why I refuse to call it artificial intelligence. It is not intelligent. It is artificial, but it is not intelligent. It's barely machine learning on it all. We have better machine learning inside of EDRs, XDRs, MDRs, Splunks, than there is inside of there.
it's a
actually,
more
Mike,
human-friendly
how do we know
way.
that you aren't just taking a bunch of things and regurgitating them back to people as well?
Don't tell my secret.
No, okay.
You gave my secret away.
All
Gave all our secrets
ChatGPT
away.
does, all ChatGPT does is put a more human-friendly user interface on large data.
It's a plagiarism engine.
A plagiarism.
You know what?
It's
You know what would
solved
make-
so many coding problems for me. I will give you that. Be like,
It-
how do I do
Once
this?
again,
And it's like,
it's a
bam.
really
Here's the
good
thing, too.
plagiarism engine.
So,
You could use ChatGPT would work great
come
for
back.
an internal wiki.
Oh no! How many of you were at RSA this year? Did anybody else go?
I don't remember
Nope.
being there.
I avoid that.
Ian's like, I don't remember. Being
I am not on that pay scale.
So almost all of the AI stuff that I was seeing that was actually integrating with ChatGPT was nothing but tools that were explaining things which were on people's existing dashboards.
Yeah.
Explain to me what this IDS signature is.
Yeah.
Explain to me what this particular detect is inside of this EDR. Explain to me what this particular hit is in our IDS system. That's what they were using it for. And peep Clippy all the way down. Snot out my nose.
Keeping up.
Bill and Melinda Gates were right. But no, that was the thing that was resonating with people. Just like how Wade's using it, right? With the people that he's working with, to be able to enable people that don't understand really, really, really hardcore technology to say, oh, that's what this particular field is in the IP header, and explain it like a normal human being. Was awesome. So it's basically, we've turned in IT and IT security, we've turned ChatGPT into the thing that answers questions that we all should be answering for junior people, but it does it in a way where it's not an asshole. And I think that's one of the reasons why people love ChatGPT, because they can sit down to ChatGPT and they're like, how do I get the audio to work on my Roku? And instead of them calling me and I'm like, okay, and whatever. Oh God, is it on? Oh Jesus, I can't believe I'm doing it. ChatGPT is nice to them, so it wins.
Yeah. I expressly stay away. I expressly use ChatGPT so I did not have to post on Stack Overflow. That was the key thing, right?
Yeah, it does okay at writing code.
I like what Ian said though, right? Ian, like if they could have it digest all of and then it's on-prem or something, right? It's not giving stuff away.
Yeah.
All of your corporate data, I could ask ChatGPT who to solve this question, it's like, oh yeah, that's Fred in accounting. Here's his Slack. Here's his phone number. Here's his
according to
like,
all the
right,
emails.
perfect.
This is the only person that knows how to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
And they fired him last week.
See, what I was going to say is I think there was somebody else that brought that up, though. But wait, I liked something you said, and I'll give everyone else this little bit of feedback where you said, I always check 3 sources for ChatGPT. So I think the rule should be treat ChatGPT like your drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. If they say something that sounds like it's off, and it's like, okay, first off, they're not injecting us with vaccines to take over and make us lizard people.
What?
Treat Chat.
At least not
like
not
that.
the rest
Like it's your drunk uncle talking conspiracy theories at Thanksgiving. Just go verify it.
It's like how Wikipedia was classified. Like I feel like in the earlier 2000s, right? No, everyone said do not trust Wikipedia. You couldn't cite the sources. No one really believed in it. At least when I was first starting to do essays.
But
then you
still
realize,
can't in
okay,
academics.
You still can't,
use
but
Wikipedia.
here's the
That's
thing:
how
those
they
links,
charge you all the money. If they
those
were like,
links in Wikipedia, are
you
the
gotta
best.
charge more money.
Yeah, see, Wade knows where the real stuff is.
Yeah.
You go to the people who've already cited the sources. You're crowdsourcing your research.
Exactly. And that's one of the things. And I've got a good friend. He's working on his associate's degree and he's using ChatGPT like a tool. When he gets writer's block and he's having trouble figuring out how to find the words to explain what's in his head, he goes to ChatGPT but that is helping him refine his process. And that's a good use for it. And then he goes and he looks for appropriate, reasonable, reputable sources to be able to support whatever position he takes in whatever he's preparing. I've done this too. I used ChatGPT for the last several discussion posts in my master's program. And I did the same kind of thing. I asked the question, but I vetted the response. Is this valid? Is it legit? And then I went and I found sources to back up any statement of fact that I was making in the post. And so it really wasn't plagiarizing ChatGPT. I was using it as a tool to help me be more productive more quickly, because at that point I was already brain fried.
And
it's no different.
I was going to say, sorry, BSD. In all seriousness, this is great because security is a complexity game, right? And the more complex everything is that we're trying to secure or test and assess, the more difficult it is to secure it. And I look at AI, all joking aside, I look at AI as one of those amazing tools that we now have at our disposal that's going to help us go through and get rid of a lot of the mundane garbage so we can get to some of the more difficult problems that exist in computer security. So, in all seriousness, that's the way I look at it. I look at it as it's absolutely essential to do the things that we need to kind of get some of these mundane things out of the way so we can get to some of the more difficult problems. So go ahead, BSD. Sorry.
Yeah, kind of similar to what I was about to say as well, too. It's look at it no different than a vulnerability scanner. When you're working against a system, when you're attacking a system and you throw out, like, say, a Nessus or whatnot, and you see what it brings back and you pretty much look over the results. It's kind of like your eyes and ears to give you an overlay of the land. Same thing with ChatGPT. It's getting all of the, like you said, the mundane things out of the way. So now that you know what you have in front of you, then you can kind of like move on to the more like advanced stuff while looking at your eyes and ears to see what you have in front of you. And again, a lot of people are using, I think, will AI change infosec security? Yeah, but I don't think for the worse. I know a lot of people are looking at it from a job perspective where it's going to take away jobs. I look at it as more from a creativity perspective. It's going to force the industry to become more creative on how they're using tools and actually forcing them to think and not having the tool think for them.
And
it can be. It can be.
It can. I think it's a good thing, but.
Well, it's just like any other tool. The potential, like, for example, one of the discussions going on in educational circles about all of these large language models and tools like ChatGPT is that what it does is it changes the focus. It changes the emphasis. Are we focusing on rote facts and memorization, or are we going to now be able to shift our focus to being able to teach how to reason and how to separate fact from hyperbole and that sort of thing? And in that regard, it has huge potential if it's leveraged appropriately. And that's a huge if. Huge.
So
that's true. That's just like with any other tool. If it's used appropriately.
Moving away from ChatGPT, which I feel like we all could talk to for hours. I love talking about
it. It's the new ransomware.
Exactly. It's new. I'm not going to lie. Like, it is my favorite topic, but I'll just talk for it forever. But there was two other ones, and this one was shifting gears about phones. And I thought this was a pretty interesting article about the TeleSign profiling phones, okay? And U.S. phones, right? And what they're doing, in a nutshell, is they are trying to get a reputation score from your phone number. Right. So, and then they would sell that reputation score to other companies to see if it was a real person and not just, a scammer or some other kind of fake profile to inflate their numbers on their site to TikTok and to other people like that. Kind of interesting, right?
How does this work though? Because you can just spoof a phone number, so
you can't. Not anymore.
No security. You can't anymore.
Not anymore. Are they getting IMEI data?
Yeah. No. So there's a lot of ways to validate a phone. Okay, there are a lot of ways, right? And they have implemented some of the higher level trust systems, right, with phone numbers, right? The telcos have already had this for a while, where they can validate whether that is an actual cell phone that's making a phone call and not just a VoIP provider and other things like that. They've also implemented the Shakiran. I think that's what it's called.
They implemented Shakira?
Yes, Shakira. There's like a secure Shakiran. I think it is Shakiran, right? It's like a communication protocol for providing a more secure. It's really authentication. Really, it's not necessarily encryption. But so they're doing that. There's other things, and this is all to do with scamming or scammers making all of those phone calls that we hate so much that landlines are still getting. But so there are ways to validate, and this is a service that can take that one step further, right? And then use that as like a trust, right? Has it been seen in other services and other things like that? So
I would imagine most phone providers have a pretty good understanding of it, right? Like, why they're selling that metadata, right? Of like, let's see this number calling, like, and just pump it to those people.
And I guarantee you signed up for this a long time ago. When you signed up for your T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T, whatever you got, they're like, diagnostic data, and we may sell this data.
we're going to sell this to everyone who wants to know.
What was the sell data? Yeah, no, we keep your data private, and we're going to sell it to partner.
What was that? No, I was just activating your phone. Don't worry. Just a number.
It's fine. It's all fine.
The other phone thing, I don't know if anyone saw this one. This one was actually pretty hot, and this has to do with Russia, but not in the way of Russia getting attacked. This one is good. But this one's like, it kind of went below the radar, I felt like. But so Apple released a patch for iOS, and it was they're calling this Operation Triangulation. And Kaspersky has been trying to figure out, they've had these iPhones that they've been suspect that they have malware on them, okay? And they haven't been able to figure out what it was, and they finally did find it, right? And it took them months to figure out that these phones have been compromised, right? Then when they reported it, when they finally figured out what it was, they told it to Apple, like, oh shoot, and they released an emergency patch, right, for every single iPhone, every iOS device that was currently running on 15, and they backdated it, or it's 16 and backdated it for 15 as well. And it allows for a 0-click execution via a message, right? So remote code execution via a iMessage, right?
I feel like we've heard this story with Apple.
Well,
before
we've heard the story,
occasions.
but there's a big reason why no one talked about this one.
Because
it just goes further on. What I thought was impressive is it also deletes the message after you received it.
It deletes
so
the message.
You don't even know it came in. It's like, oh, my phone vibrated? That's weird. It's no message. All right, whatever.
Yes,
that's okay.
It hides itself. Oh, sorry, I get you this link. It hides itself, and obviously this is targeted at Russia and probably America. I don't know who did it.
No, so the argument with this is that it was the U.S., right? That's the reason there's no big reports about it.
Yep.
And then this directly ties into the BBC article on why you'd never hear about any type of Western cyber attacks.
You mean the equation group doesn't get a whole lot of press coverage?
This is right. But think about the, like, they don't have a fancy, like, they don't have a fancy T-shirt or cool name, right? Or like graphic of like an eagle on top of a person with wings. Like, why hasn't CrowdStrike made an equation group shirt yet? I'd rock it. Like,
I would too. I think that we need this. Like, I think Wade's right. I think that they need to have something that's like George Washington riding a bear with an eagle over his shoulder, shooting laser beams from his eyes or something like that. Because you can see, like, these APT operators in the United States are like, hey, there's a new hacker group or a new card or a new plush toy. And they're like, it's the Iranians again.
Like 6 Iranians.
Yeah,
but something more in Baltimore.
Going from that vulnerability to why we don't talk about them,
which is super ridiculously advanced, by the way. This is not running the mill.
There's in that article, they actually talk about how a couple different organizations tiered cyber actors in the entire world, right? And that the U.S. is the only #1 tiered cyber actor, which I had never heard about before. But I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. I guess it makes sense.
Well, so we spend the most money on cyber? Is that what we are?
We spend them, yeah.
You don't follow the APT power rankings.
Like, if you're not in the APT tier 1, you're nothing.
Get out of here.
I do love that somebody said, Matt Cox said, heard a rumor that Putin ordered all of his senior staff to dump their iPhones in the garbage.
So there was also
the mobile phone exploits are always the scariest to read about because, yes, some of it's clickbait. Yes, some of them are nation state actors. But I feel like every single one of us has probably had a moment, if not like 5 to 10, where our phone is misbehaving in some way. And we're like, is this just my phone being my phone, or have I had malware on here for 3 months?
Right.
And that's terrifying.
I think the CIA and the NSA were recommending that everyone restart your iPhone like once a week because that'll erase everything. And that was part of this malware as well. If you restarted it, they would have to redo the exploit, right, by sending another message. So,
and that's the thing about this. That's the thing about this is like exploit through a message. Like that's in and of itself. Like there's been those, right? But
yes,
that's a scary attack vector. And then the fact that it can root, it has a sandbox escape.
Yep.
And a rooting. Like, it's not just a vulnerability. They're chaining together like 3.
It's very expensive.
And one of my more paranoid friends said, if you look at this, there's 2 ways this goes down. Either the United States government has purchased that they hired hackers to do that. They bought those exploits, or they actually just gave a suitcase of money to
Apple.
That's can you look this in?
That's what Russia was accusing Apple of doing, and Apple says, "Hell no, we weren't part of this." And then
they had that patch a little too quick. If you're asking,
it was real quick,
right? Real quick.
It was purely speculative, but man, I haven't heard the FBI get real cranky with Apple about the encryption stuff recently.
No, it hasn't been a problem.
It has not been a problem.
That went away.
Yeah, that's...
No, in all seriousness, though, I for one reason, what was described, I would say was probably Equation Group, NSA, one of our clandestine actors, is the way the research came about sounds a lot like the way researchers discovered Stuxnet. They saw this on the internet. They were reversing it. There were multiple places, Kaspersky, Symantec, whatnot, big malware research organizations looking at it saying, what the heck is this thing? It seems like hyper-targeted and it's not doing anything, but it's everywhere. That sounds like the same thing to me, where it is so niche, so high-end, so tailored that, it's literally... If there is a TTP for the Equation Group, it's that there are no TTPs.
They did target Kaspersky. So Kaspersky did notice that was towards them, and they're like, our own employees are getting attacked, which makes sense, right? Like,
it does. So this harkens me back to the Flame malware. I don't know if you all remember years ago, like 2012. I've got the article. And it's very, very similar. So like Flame was a piece of malware that specifically targeted computer systems that had the Arabic language pack installed. But the most interesting thing about this malware was Microsoft reached out to its customers and notified the public that it had discovered unauthorized digital certificates that chain up to a Microsoft sub-certification authority issued under the Microsoft root authority, right? And I like how some people are already like, so if you read all the articles from whenever that was going down, there was a bunch of people that were trying to speculate, like, how would they actually create a collision against those certificate authorities? And how would they do that? Like, that would take the supercomputing power, and they're going through all these ways that it could have happened, where there could have been a collision. And while I'm reading these articles, I'm kind of like, did no one think of the obvious thing that just maybe the United States government purchased a certificate and used it in their malware? It's so much easier, right? You're getting into this like scary tech hacking or a suitcase full of money. Choose a suitcase full of money.
I mean, sometimes it's not even a suitcase full of money. It's a suitcase full of a document that says, hey, we could burn you down with legislation and regulations, or you just give us what we need, and maybe we go away for a bit. And they go, no problem.
Which goes back to why you don't hear about Western hacking.
There you go.
Like, why would you don't shit where you eat type of deal? You're not going to expose the U.S. military, especially if they're one of your customers, or if you're dealing with them in some way at all. And of course, like most Western threat actors aren't going to be in anyone in the U.S.'s threat model at all. Why do I care if they're doing anything. I don't want any intel on this whatsoever until we start seeing a threat actor use it. Then, okay, give it back to me. All right. Then I'll start going for it.
So I couldn't agree with all of you more, and especially John. I'm going to put something in the private chat, but I'll put it in I'll put it in both places. For those listening who aren't familiar, if you think, oh, that can't be possible, what John's saying, I implore you to look up an organization called In-Q-Tel. IQT. In-Q-Tel is the clandestine, the NSA, CIA, whatnots investment fund. Now, these are investments to help better security, to protect the nation, but you have to ask yourself, if the companies are starting when they're this big with seed rounds and whatnot of that investment, that someone at that board table at least has the ability to make some phone calls when they need to. And I think when you look into what they invest in, you'll find a lot of big name players.
Mostly Beanie Babies.
Yeah. No, there's a bunch. I won't pick on any companies in specific because I feel comfortable picking on In-Q-Tel because government. But yeah, this is what they do. They fund startups in the hopes that they'll get big and become a dominant security technology to protect the nation. But you have to ask yourself.
That is true. This index does go to 11. That is a lot of companies.
And you've almost got to look at this as the NSA's response to Israel.
Absolutely.
These companies that Israel, what's the, I completely brain farted. What's the malware company out of Israel that
the malware company?
It did Pegasus. And,
you're talking about Unity 200?
Yeah. No, not the government organization, the actual company.
No.
NSO.
Thank you, White Cider Doc. Yeah, NSO group, right? Like we've talked about them in the past. It's like they're literally getting the most evil organizations on the face of the planet to buy their software, and literally Israel has full visibility into every single one of them. Like what you see here, like In-Q-Tel, can't be that much different.
No, it's the same.
What? No, we're different. We have different morals.
Yeah, we have eagles and stuff, John. Yeah. Come on.
So,
he's my best friend.
There was another one too. This is right on the same line of government stuff, but unsolicited smartwatches being received.
Oh, this one was so cool,
right?
Oh, all right. Let me get rid of this right now.
Yeah. So this article, the one we have here, and this had been reported some other places, but is CID, which is the what do you call it? Criminal investigation. Yes, division. For unsolicited smartwatches. So people are getting smartwatches in the mail and they're like, oh, sweet. And they put it on and this thing is just tracking where they're going and perfect, right? It seems so amazing.
There's a password manager in it too, just in case.
Yeah.
They say it auto connects to Wi-Fi.
Oh, Cameron, tell me that. Sure. Are you joking?
Yes.
There's a password manager in it? I would buy that.
I would buy this. So that is actually our next phishing campaign at BHIS. We're sending new smartwatches.
I approve this campaign. This sounds fantastic.
No, I mean, it is kind of interesting though, because it does, form fit around, the getting something for free, and then obviously how much data these devices collect, right? And smartwatches.
I thought they were saying it's used to like pivot to your phone too, though. Like I thought that's what I got. Is like you directly connect it to your phone and then bam, your phone's popped.
Well, it's like your phone is like this device would like to have access to all of these things. Sure.
Go for it. Yeah, why not? What could go wrong?
Beacons.
Well, no, it's funny. BSE, you mentioned walking beacons, but
yeah,
this is only the endpoint of when technology gets cheap enough. Because originally, when the Fitbit came out, the military started banning them on base. And some of you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the article was about the types of intelligence, because Fitbit used to have a public board. And you could just see like somebody went running, they were running here, blah, blah, blah. And it was all about competition.
I think I'm kind of responsible for them getting banned.
I don't know.
Out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, far away from everybody, got a whole bunch of people who are running in a circle. What is that indicating?
Right here.
Weird.
Look at the step count on this guy in Afghanistan. He's a machine.
Yeah.
This is so funny too, because they do this with airplanes too. You can track all of these because they have a transponder on them. is designed for tracking of certain sizes of aircraft. And so they're actually doing this over the drones that they're sending over into the Ukraine and tracking those as they fly around to see, how close they're getting and all sort of fun stuff. It's kind of interesting. But
so this also brings up another, like, Garmin was hacked in 2020, right?
No.
Right. Whoa, no. But the crazy part is, so Garmin has excellent watches, right? GPS data, not for everybody. And then the government, from what I read in other reports, the government actually issues Garmin watches to pilots in case their GPS goes out, so they have a secondary backup. And no one really talked about that Garmin attack at all, at least when it happened or ever. And they just quickly paid the ransom, and no one ever talked. But I always thought that was a watch manufacturer is an interesting attack surface, because if you can use it as a supply chain and it's a smartwatch, that would be a pretty cool attack.
Well, and the other thing,
what else would be pretty cool?
What's that?
What else?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was about to say these babies here.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, is that the Windows 11 Asus?
Yeah, it runs
Republic
Windows
of
11.
Gamers one.
Yeah. They're just gaming devices, right?
Oh, it's just a PC.
I know it is a PC.
It's a PC. Hey, you could do some interesting things running Windows 11.
Yeah.
How quick do you think those are going to get banned for private? Just got a bonus on base.
Well, but I kind of want to address that question, because people are asking, how do they know who to send this stuff to? So, so a lot of branches of the military, when they have promotions, they actually post them on Facebook, and you can read the description of what someone is in the military, and you can find out exactly who is special ops, special forces, and you can send things directly to those people. It's not hard at all. Like, everyone's like, oh my God, they got the list of all these, special forces people. It's like, what, from Facebook? Because it's literally posted there.
Right.
So it's really super easy to find the right people that you can send stuff to.
Yeah, you send them the little smartwatch. Congratulations on your promotion.
Right.
Da.
That's
why. If you're China, you're making the stuff over there. So it's practically free.
That's why if you're
Pretty
real
much.
official, you don't have that kind of message going out, right? You don't have
Hopefully.
like a Facebook
You shouldn't.
post.
No.
Well,
I don't mean people are posting it on Facebook. I mean, literally, the Navy will post it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
see
no,
that
I
that
got
guy's
it.
a steal. That
Yeah.
guy's a steal.
They've already solved this in other areas, right? Like if you're a judge, your name doesn't get put on the property records on the website. It's simple, right?
But,
Why haven't we
that's too
solved
much
that
like
in the
doing it the
military?
right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
But
next thing you
people
know,
are
they're going
gonna
to be
post-
scraping Facebook and sending people pet feeders that have been compromised.
I look at
Got a
Facebook as
dog.
a huge jar of assorted M&Ms, and you just turn the knob and see what you can find. I mean, literally, Facebook is just a breeding ground for everything. Think about it.
It's a
If you
petri
really
dish.
wanted, yeah, and if someone really wanted to wreak havoc, they can. We're in the age of video. If they figure out a way how to send modified, maybe like a fake TikTok video or whatever that drops malware.
Tiki-taki.
Tiki-taki.
I thought that was banned. I can't even get on it anymore.
Not yet.
Or
They're trying.
not yet. They're trying. But even if something as simple as Facebook Messenger, if you just join a group,
Only in Utah.
right? If you get on Facebook and they have all these different groups, and you just pick a group that you want to join and join that particular group, and they have their Facebook chat messenger, and you drop something in there, imagine how many people are going to click on that.
Oh yeah.
If you drop something worthwhile just within the group. Just thoughts, folks. This is not actually. I just want to put that disclussion out there.
On this next
But-
edition of
PSC
BHIS.
just said that's totally legal. Get on it.
Yes,
That's what I
that's
heard.
all I
I
heard.
still think- I still feel like
No.
this podcast is like completely a recording of the technological downfall of humanity. Like years from now, when aliens find us, they're going to be going through it. They're going to be like, they knew as it was happening. Like, why did this?
They were more aware of their downfall than we all thought.
I mean, as soon as vulnerabilities were found in their smart pet feeders, Like, why didn't they stop? So, Bronwyn, do you want to talk about this last one? Because I don't think it's necessarily hilarious, but
I mean,
could just
not for
see
your
somebody
pet.
who's like, we need you to do some security research and some embedded device hacking.
There's
Oh,
pets at
awesome.
risk.
What is it? Is it a thermostat? No. Pet feeders. Damn it.
I'm sorry, I had to laugh at that with the pet feeders. Go
Okay, so
ahead.
what can they do? What can they do to the pet feeder? Can they?
My
You're
dog
muted,
is already
Bronwyn.
fat. So Bronwyn is now muted.
Oh no! Come back.
Can you
Come
hear me
back,
now? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Can you hear me
correct.
now? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I shot myself in the foot on that one. Okay, so the deal is these smart feeders, they have cameras. They've got microphones. They're in your house. They're IoT devices. They have baked in creds in the software, in the firmware. It's everything that you shouldn't do with IoT devices all in one package, and people are so surprised. I mean, come on.
Why
They're
do
going
you
after
need cameras and
Fido.
mics to know how
Thank
much to
you.
feed your dog? Like, you'd think they could
It's
just do
Alexa.
that with weight
They integrate with
or a
Alexa.
clock.
So you can be in
Yes,
front of
they
your
do.
smart feeder and you can be like, hey, Alexa, get more cat food.
So-
And I don't know, probably 9 devices in my house just bought cat
I
food.
know. Actually, I have cat food coming now too, and I have no cats. Nope.
Cameron, the camera is what gets me. My cat shows me its butt enough. I don't need to have a camera.
Oh, wait, we're missing.
No, you don't get it. It's because the classified documents are being used for the litter boxes and to put underneath everything. So they're taking the pictures of that.
That's where you hide the. You know what I'm talking about.
The malware? In the-
No, I don't. Yes.
Good one. Good one.
Honestly, he would have never gotten in trouble if he would have just had a.
But have we gone too far? Because once again, the aliens are like, right here. They went too far. They knew.
They
There's
knew
some-
it,
mess
and
around.
they kept going.
They kept
Imagine
going.
on an off-world, there's some alien going and defending their doctoral thesis, and in your research, glorp glop, did you find that they did anything? Why, yes, we did. We found ancient historical records of something they called memes.
And in the archives of talking about the news.
Yeah, they used memes to combat AI.
Were
And then
these
they
memes
connected their
effective?
pet
No.
feeders with artificial intelligence, and for some reason, it was connected to systems that had nukes.
We're
They
also
all knew it was going to
exploring-
happen. They literally had a movie about it 2-3 decades before, and it still happened. Yeah, it still happened. They knew. They knew.
We're also exploring another term we discovered in this research. Oh, glorp glop, what was that? Oh, yes. We're trying to figure out exactly how furries were involved in it. There's some relationship between technology and furries that we're not quite grasping.
And for some reason, there's a correlation between cats and goatsy, and we
Yeah, I
just
don't-
cannot figure this out at all. As younger generations are
all
like, "What's
is-
that? Don't."
Oh my god, I can't
No,
believe you
don't.
even mentioned it.
And this is all in the movie called They Live.
Yeah. Consume BSD. Obey. So,
Obey.
all right, everybody, let's wrap it up.
Wow.
It's
We
been
have
a
killed it.
Monday, and there's been no sunlight for days, and it's been raining constantly. So,
Oh, here,
Do you
let,
mean
me,
that-
let me open my window and give you some light here in
that's the
sunny
most
San
iconic
Diego.
number
And now
of days.
we
Thank
know
you all.
exactly where you live. I've been watching you outside.
Thank you all for coming and chronicling the technological downfall of humanity. We greatly appreciate it. But in the meantime, before everything goes to hell and we're taken over and like by aliens or whatever, remember Black Hills Information Security can do pen tests for you.
We can help you before the end.
Yeah, we can help you before the end.
We can help
And
you
that
prepare for
seems
the end
nice.
before the end.
God, we need
Yeah.
to hire violinists so they can play while Rome
While
burns.
we go down.
While
Yeah,
we go down, while we go down.
No,
I'm not
no,
taking that
no.
sub. That's all I got to
We've
say.
got
Oh,
Bo.
none of you
We've
worked
got
with
Bo.
This
Cameron.
this
did you
guy
work
is
with
all out of
Kelsey on
bubble
any
gum.
tests?
He is.
There's so many
Cameron-
people speaking. What?
Yeah, I know. Did you work with Cameron on any tests? Or sorry, with Kelsey on any tests?
I have not.
Okay, she plays violin. We're gonna have to get her. She's coming back. We're gonna have to have her just come and play some sad music
Mhm.
during one of our episodes while we laugh about the downfall of humanity. And people will be like, "This is so weird." But thank you so much, everybody. Ryan, bring up the crooked finger. We're out of here. It's Monday, and we're done with it.